Before the video starts, I have to make a little disclaimer. This type of video was not my idea. The original idea is from a YouTuber called Bricky, who makes these types of videos on League of Legends characters. I definitely recommend you to check these videos out because they're very entertaining, very funny, and well, ultimately the thing that inspired this video. With that being said, here we go. So you wanna main Strix? Well, do you like snipers? Do you like ults? Do you like being invisible? Do you like Call of Duty? And do you like to ambush people? Then Strix, the Ghost Feather, is for you. Strix is pretty much your average sniper champion you can find in almost every FPS these days. Although the twist for him probably is that he can go invisible, which I'll get to in a moment. But for now, let's talk about lore. There is not a lot, but let's talk about it anyways. Having spent most of his life in the military, Strix was an invaluable member of the Sentinels, tasked with training their elite sharpshooters, like for example Kinessa. He was reassigned after the unit was disbanded after failing a mission very badly, sent to the front lines with the regular army as it prepared to put down the resistance. Always the calm and composed professional, he's the master of stealth and camouflage, able to pick off high variable targets before the enemy is even aware of his presence. Basically, Strix is that sensei master guy from the military that trains the people but is also a total badass and doesn't like to be seen. And Strix's averageness basically continues from here on. Strix is a damage champion and has 2100 HP as of, well, the current patch. He was released in August 2017 and has currently the lowest movement speed of any character in the game of 340. Strix's primary weapon is the Talon Rifle. The Talon Rifle is basically a bolt-action sniper rifle which deals 1200 damage, has a maximum ammo count of 5, which can be increased via cards, and is fully effective up to 500 units, whatever that means. It's also completely inaccurate when not scoped, and here's some details. Strix has another weapon, which I will explain now before I explain over the so-called ability. Strix's secondary weapon is the pistol. I would just call it Talon Pistol, cause just pistol is boring. It's a semi-automatic pistol that deals 220 damage per shot, has a maximum ammo count of 10, which also can be increased with loadout cards, has a fire rate of 0.15 at maximum clicking speed, has pretty decent recoil, and more details! Strix has some of the most basic weapons that you can, well, literally find in any other video game, but I think this basicness around him just makes him so fun, combined with the other abilities he has. Talking about it, let's get to the first ones for his right mouse button. Strix's first right mouse button ability is Scope. Yeah, you just aim down with your sniper rifle. It's nothing special. His pistol right mouse button though, that is where people's frustration often came from and caused a lot of frustration back in the day. Strix's other right mouse button ability is Flare. While holding the pistol, when pressing right click, Strix fires out a flare, which travels a certain distance and reveals anyone in its area. It can reveal through terrain. The projectile will fly up to 7 seconds until it hits terrain. It has a cooldown of 15 seconds. If the projectile hits a target before exploding, it will disappear and will deal 200 damage to the target, followed by 10 ticks of 10 damage over 2 seconds. The target is revealed during the duration and, you guessed it, details! But honestly, Scope is so basic, not even the wiki has anything interesting, despite you can use it to jump shoot. The flare back in the day, because of, well, how the balance used to be, caused people a lot of frustration. The funny thing is though, after Strix was released for around probably half a year, he was seen as complete trash, because he couldn't compete with Kinessa, and no one really complained about the flare, along with a talent, which I will talk about later. But at some point people found out about it, and that's when it became frustrating. And yeah, I wasn't lying. But you know what's also pretty basic? Strix's Q! So let's get to it. Strix's Q is Quick Switch. Quick Switch allows you to swap between your sniper and your pistol, giving you access to the different abilities, Scope and Flare I mean. It takes around half a second to switch between your weapons, which can be cancelled freely, and also can be decreased with loadout cards, and, well, there's not a lot of details here, not even, the wiki literally doesn't have a details tab. Amazing. It's literally what it is. You swap between your weapons and you can use some other abilities. Very basic, but very fun. But now let's get to an ability that is not so basic, which is Strix's F. Also, I need to say right now, I will probably continue to say F, but if I sometimes say shift and I don't realize it, I apologize. I have my F on shift because I prefer to have my movement over there. But generally, when I say shift, it's F. With that being said, let's go to it. Strix's F is stealth. Strix has a invisibility mechanic which works on a resource bar. This resource bar has 100 stealth resource, and it has an activation of 0.5 seconds. This ability also has a 1 second cooldown. Upon activation, Strix uses 33 of the stealth resource, or 33%, which will continue to run down until the resource is run out and Strix reveals himself. He needs at least 40% of stealth to activate the ability. If he has less, he cannot activate it until he gets that much. It regenerates 12 resource per second when not active and out of combat, 2 resource while in combat. The resource generation starts shortly after the cooldown is over. Strix will play a sound depending on skin, which indicates players that Strix has gone invisible and will continue to play one while he is invisible, which gets louder the closer you get to him. If he reveals himself, he also does a noise. When he's being shot while invisible, he will not reveal himself, however the enemy player can see damage numbers. Strix is able to have a shot out of invisibility which will break the invisibility. The invisibility itself is countered by the item Illuminate. And details! Stealth is by far the most complicated ability in the Strix, despite being also pretty simple. To give a TLDR of what you just witnessed, Strix has stealth, he can go invisible, it works on a resource, he has to have a certain amount to go invisible, he regenerates while out of combat and not using it, people can still see and hear you, and that can be increased with Illuminate. Done. In the end, pretty simple, but not that simple. However, with his ultimate, we're getting pretty basic again. So to all of you Call of Duty and all of you CSGO players out there, you're going to be familiar with this. Strix's ultimate ability is Flashbang. Strix throws out a flashbang grenade, which explodes in an area and blinds everyone that gets caught in his explosive radius. The closer you are to the explosive radius, the more damage you will take and the longer you will be completely blinded. The damage goes up to 150 and the maximum blindness duration is 3 seconds. The explosive radius has a large area, however it also has sharp fall off. Blinded enemies cannot see through the blindness. And details. As I said, we're basically going to very basic stuff again. I don't think I really have to explain how a flashbang works. I'm pretty sure everyone here has at least played CSGO once and has been blinded by one, so you know how it works now. Well, those were Strix's abilities, but we're not done yet. We're also going over his talents now, starting with the first one, arguably the best one for him, which is Unauthorized Use. When using Unauthorized Use, Strix's flare turns into a fucking ballistic missile, dealing up to 300 more damage, which is 800, gets increased distance and increased flying speed, and it also bounces off surfaces for them extra spicy plays. However, if you take Unauthorized Use, you will lose the ability to reveal people with his flare. However, that damage is worth it. Unauthorized Use used to be my personal bread and butter whenever I used him. It just felt so extremely satisfying, getting that quickscope off, followed up by the flare, getting that kill across the map, which was back then definitely much harder than it is these days. Unauthorized Use has seen a few changes over its years, where the original talent only increased the damage, reduced the cooldown, and increased the flying speed and distance. At some point though, that talent was buffed, giving even more speed, therefore more distance, making it easier to hit, and the bounce. While I absolutely appreciate the bounce, I always dislike the increased speed because that just made the talent very easy to use and caused more people to be good with it, which in the end also frustrated more people. If you want to use Unauthorized Use, it definitely will need some practice. However, if you can pull it off, you can probably destroy everyone. Now let's go over my personal favorite talent for Strix, which is Crackshot. Crackshot is very interesting and very fun. After hitting a shot with your sniper, the target hit by the sniper will take 20% more damage from your pistol shots for 4 seconds. However, this requires you to actually hit your sniper shot. If not, you will not get any bonus damage. This is also, well, pretty simple. You hit your sniper shot, you get more damage with your pistol for a set amount of time for that hit target. However, basic is fun, and it feels incredibly satisfying if you get that quick scope on someone that jumps on you. This is, by the way, very good for bulky characters, and you just delete them. It feels amazing, and it doesn't even necessarily feel too unfair on the other side, because you actually have to hit the quickscope. I know a lot of people these days say that hitting quickscopes is easy, hitboxes, yada yada, but trust me, you will definitely need a little bit of training or a little bit of practice before you can pull good shit off. Don't use this talent. It's trash. It's so trash, fam. Nocturnal is the next talent. And did I already mention it's trash? If not, yo, this is honestly trash. While the other two talents give you honestly pretty good damage potential for either your flare or your just pistol in general, Nocturnal just gives you more invisibility, which in the end can be useful. However, the situations where it isn't useful, well, it's pretty much just useless. Having extra damage is almost better in every situation. And yeah, that's all Nocturnal really do. Nocturnal increases your stealth time by 50%. So instead of 7 seconds of stealth, you're stealthed in 10.5 seconds. Which again, can be useful. However, you will probably have to dedicate a whole loadout for this, and going for damage is just more viable. As long as Nocturnal is as it is, I don't see it as viable at all, and you really shouldn't use this. Now, let's quickly go over my personal favorite loadout, which I use all the time, which only has like one change in it, if I ever change it. And this is my main loadout. Infused crystals, in my opinion, is a must-have. The base ammo for both the pistol and the sniper is kind of underwhelming, and having more ammo is just very good. Guerrilla tactics is very helpful to get your stealth back on elimination. Tactical retreat, well, for me it's more tactical engage. I use tactical retreat always to either follow a target or to get out of sticky situation. Also, very useful. Dexterous is getting nerfed next patch. It will not have 20% per level anymore, it will have 10. So the maximum you can get is 50. Definitely very useful for crackshot and for unauthorized use. So honestly, you should probably use it. However, I don't use it at max level because I see people get tilted of it, so I don't want to use it. Finally, Relentless. The number varies. Sometimes I use Relentless at the lowest level, but sometimes I use it at max level. Movement speed on scope is something you need to find out for yourself. I know people that play without it, I know people that play with, and I know people that play with the middle ground. So that is completely how you want it. So with that, you have to try around. Here are some other, I could call it honorable mentions, for other loadout cards that definitely are very useful when you play Strix. Grizzle. Grizzle just gives you more HP. More HP can be very helpful since Strix only has 2100 health, and being able to pump that up is quite useful, especially when you start playing him. Trigger Control. Trigger Control reduces the maximum standard in accuracy by up to 40%. Basically, it will lower the accuracy. That means you will hit more shots and it will be easier to hit your targets with it. Definitely a good card to use in the beginning when you struggle to control the accuracy. White Knuckle. White Knuckle reduces the sidearm's recoil by up to 30%. Also very useful when you start playing him. I've heard a lot of people had issues with how much recoil and inaccuracy the pistol actually has. So using this card along with Trigger Control can definitely make it easy for the beginning. However, this is not a card that you should use forever because other cards become way more useful, especially once you get used to the pistol. If you use Roost, you are a fucking asshole. No matter if this version or the reworked version, which will give ultimate charge on hit targets. Don't use this, don't be a dick. Now I will quickly go over some tips and some important information to finish off the video. Firstly, use your flare to either scout ahead of you, or if you lost a target, use it to know where they're going. Information is key, especially as Strix. There is a trick that you can use to quick switch your sniper rifle. You basically just use Q twice in a row after you shot with the sniper, which will skip the reload animation and in the end just makes you able to use your sniper faster. You can compare it to switching the AWP with your secondary weapon or your knife in CSGO. Don't be afraid to use your pistol. I see this time and time again. People simply don't use the pistol because they're like, I need to hit stuff with my sniper. Just use the pistol. You have it. And it's very good, so use it. I see a lot of Strixes, especially new ones, by deft hands. Don't. Strix's damage is very good. So if you have a target in the enemy team with shields, Wrecker is your first item. Wrecker in general is your first priority item in pretty much every situation. If the enemies won't have a shield, you usually want to go Cauterize. However, if you see that your entire team is already stacking Cauterize, feel free to go Haven or Blast Shield to give you more survivability. Hell, if you want, go Nimble. Speed is always fun. You will quickly learn that your arch nemesis, when you play Strix, will be flanks, especially Maeve and Eevee. You will very quickly build up a big hate towards these two characters. While Eevee is pretty much a gamble, because it's very hard to fight against an Eevee, dealing with Maeve is not necessarily very hard, but definitely requires a lot of training. In the background you will see a bit of footage how I was dealing with the Maeve in this match. This is usually the best way to deal with her. However, to deal with a Maeve, all you really have to do is use your ears. When Maeve prowls, you will hear her sound. When you hear that sound, either turn invisible or look around. If you can spot her before she gets the jump on you, this already gives you a much higher chance of surviving her attack. If she gets the first jump on you, it's usually game over, because if she's cat burglar, she will burst you down in 2 knives, a dash, another knives. If not, you probably have a chance, but yeah, this definitely requires training. So if you actually have a friend, maybe go into a custom game, he goes Maeve, he just jumps around you. It's a good way to train it. Also make sure to make use of the target practice tool that we have in the shooting range. It's definitely very helpful for your aim. So especially when you say like, you know, my aim isn't very good, use that, and in general use the shooting range. Set yourself a goal, like for example, hit a whole clip without missing, and then you just go next and go on and continue that. Well, and that was So You Wanna Main Strix. Quick note, I made a Strix guide over like 1.5 years ago. Most of it is obviously outdated, but there's still some useful stuff like map stuff and tips and tricks, which you probably can still use most of them. Link to that is in the description if you want to check that out as well. And if you want to see some 2017, early 2018 Hue. With that being said, thank you so much for watching. If you like this series, then please make sure to actually hit that like. Yes, it's the first time I'm saying that. Because if you like this, I would like to do more. I'm already planning on doing a Maeve one with someone you probably already know. Probably the best Maeve player in the world, in fact. If you like that, I would love to continue this. With that being said, I wish you all a nice day, and I'll see you in the next one, and on my streams. Link to that also in the description along with the Discord. Bye bye everyone! The closer you are to the middle of the explosion, the more you're blinded and the more